Now the important part comes into the picture, okay, which is public static void main. Now main is a special type of method which will, or let's not call it as method, okay, we'll take a look at method later. Let's call it the entry point, okay. So it does not matter what you write in this area here. Compiler don't care what are you writing here, it doesn't matter, okay. It will not do anything until you write something here. So technically only the code which is written inside the main will be executed. Anything outside the main will not be executed. Now this is a tricky thing. The way I said it is a little tricky, and there is a reason behind it. I'll tell you why. Okay, so before that, let's run this code. Now anyone who can tell me what is the output of this code?
Nothing.
Nothing. Zero.
Nothing, right? So let's click on run. So yes, when you click on run, it will be executed and nothing is printed. I'm back to my terminal again. Okay, so this is the command. You don't have to give the command. It automatically gives the command and it will compile and run the entire code. And at the end, it will come back to the terminal. So nothing is printed, right? Why nothing has printed?
We can declare all that variables as a local.
So, okay, so you are saying that I can declare all of this inside inside this, then it will print something, is it?
Yes.
No.
No.
Now nothing will be printed.
Yeah. Giving
Nothing
like
will be printed, is it?
yes, nothing will
Something will be printed. Suraj said it, right, Suraj?
Not printed yet.
Not printed yet. So if I run this, nothing will happen again. Because what I'm doing is I'm just creating a variable and assigning the value, creating a variable, assigning the value.
You cannot yet still declare.
Correct. I declared it. I declared I initialized I. I declared C, I initialized C. I declared F, I initialized F. But I have not printed anything as such. So there are 2 points here. One, if nothing is printed, that doesn't mean nothing is happening. There is something happening. I'm creating a variable, I'm initializing the variable, but the only thing is that I'm not printing it. So I am doing something, but I'm not printing it. That's the only thing. But how would I come to know that if this is happening or not? So before going to that point, you can see the yellow lines coming now. So earlier there was red lines. Now there are yellow lines. So yellow lines means warnings. So it's not an error, it's a warning. What is a warning? Take a look at it. The value of the local variable I is not used anywhere. So I created a variable, I initialized the variable, but I have not used it. That's why it's saying, do you really want to create this variable? Because you have not used it anywhere. It's a waste of memory, right? So it's giving you a warning. Do you really want it? Or you can delete it if you don't want it, right? So that's just a warning. Okay. Now let's remove the warning for I. Let's say, so there is a short forms as well. So you just have to write sys and it will give you the IntelliSense. So this is called as IntelliSense. Okay. Here, if you select sys out and press enter, it will write system.out.println. Now this entire thing, what is the detail of it? Don't bother. Okay. For now, let's keep the story short. This will help you to print the message. That's it. Nothing more than that. If you want to print something, just write system.out.println. What it is, how it works, leave it. We'll come to that later. So what I want to print I. Now the moment I say I want to print I, the warning of I went away because I'm using it now. Okay. So now let's run it. What will be printed?
0.
After looking at the output, Sona?
No. You have mentioned it, no? Defined int a equals to 0.
I is equal to 0.
Right. So I is equals to 0. That is why it is printing 0. Okay. Now what will happen if I'll say this?
By default, value of integer will get printed.
Which is
Compile time error.
Yes.
Compile time error.
compile time error. Who said that?
Yeah, compile time.
Okay. I think somebody saw this red line coming, right? So red line means compile time error. So what is the error now? The local variable I may not have been initialized. Why this is error?
Because
What
I
will
is,
happen?
Because
I is
local variable should be initialized before using.
Why? That is exactly the question. Why it should be
Because
initialized.
it is alive till that particular method only. It's not alive till program.
No, that's not the right answer. Anyone? Why
Object
is
is
it
needed.
compulsory to initialize a variable? Mayur.
Object is needed.
No, we are not talking of object as of now.
So there is a possibility that the same variable can be used in class.
No.
For local variable, default values will not be assigned. For instance variable.
Let me give you a scenario. Okay. I am asking you to add, let's say, divide 0 by 0. What will come?
Arithmetic error.
Arithmetic error. Why?
Exception.
Why?
Any exception.
Because 0 is nothing, right? So
Zero
there is a
is
possibility.
Correct. 0 is nothing. Nothing means empty, void, blank. In Hindi, we call it as khali, right? There's nothing in it. So if there is nothing, you cannot operate on nothing. Can I operate on something which is not there at all? No, right? So technically, So this is theoretically, not look at technically. I have just declared I. So what will happen if I just declare I? Let me tell you what happens. So I told you in last class also, when you declare a variable, what will happen? What will compiler do? Compiler will go to RAM. Okay, it will reserve a location. Okay, and call it as I. But inside I there is nothing. It is all empty. Okay, so if it is empty, can I say I plus 2? What will be I plus 2? Nothing plus 2 is, you will say 2, right? Nothing plus 2 is like 0 plus 2, right? But it is not even 0. You don't know what it is. It's like null. It's like void, empty space altogether, right? It's all empty. It's like a black hole. You can't operate on it, right? That is the reason why if there is nothing, you can't do any arithmetic operation or any kind of operation for that matter on nothing. Okay, so to preserve that error or that erroneous situation, compiler forces you to initialize it. Okay, so compiler is forcing you to initialize it. That's the reason why we have initialized it to, let's say now 10. So now